your knowing to come to full blossom. And he now explains one or two things for them. Verse 24. God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands, neither is worship with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he giveth life to all, and breath, and all things, and he has made of one blood all nations of men. He made all nations from one man. It was the passage of blood from Adam to the wife that blossomed to become children, and they have spread around. Every nation came from one blood. God has made of all nations one blood, for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and he has determined the times before appointed and the bounds of their habitation, so that they should seek the Lord, if haply they might feel after him and find him. Although, as we're looking everywhere for him, he's not far from us. They feel after him so that they can find him, although he's not far from all of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. And Paul quoted some of their writers. He says, so as some of your poets have written, that we are the offsprings of God. These men were not inspired the way Christians were inspired, but there was this spontaneity of a knowing. They just knew we came from God. They can't define how it happened, the channels, but they all believe we're made by God, and they were not Christians. So Paul was quoting that even some of your people got it right with that notion. The problem is the definition was wrong. So this unknown God you left this altar bare to come and dwell on is not going to be here. He's not far away. If you seek after him, you'll find him. So with that understanding, when we come to know God, we only grow in knowing what had been a knowing all the while. It begins to make sense. It comes alive. And you begin to follow on to know that God. Then shall we know. Hosea chapter 6 verse 3. Then shall we know. Romans 1:18. For the wrath of God. Romans 1:18. For the wrath of God, the anger of God, the vehement indignation of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them. You don't need to do a research outside yourself to know God. Do a reflect. Think. You find a way to know that God is real. So all the empirical evidences and all, they are going to go to laboratory to find that laboratory apparatus do not reveal God. The greatest evidence of the existence of God is you. You are God's evidence of his existence. That which may be known by God is manifest in them, because God has shown it unto them. Somehow you have encountered that knowledge. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. You didn't preach to me, you have no excuse. My pastor did not tell me the truth, you have no excuse. I swallowed the wrong gospel, you have the truth, no excuse. Ultimately, you are responsible for your own eternal destiny. There are without excuse, because that when they knew God, these were people are atheists and agnostics and free thinkers and doubters and all sorts of people say, I don't believe Jesus. The Bible says when they knew God, when? Somehow, somewhere, sometime. You met God without knowing. They knew him. When they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but they became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened, and professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And these, I've seen it literal, how a professor has come to a system and told the people, we are professors, we are the wise ones here in the church of God. Because we are professors, we are wise. That means the rest of you are foolish. And people felt the cringing. How could you say that? Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and their foolish hearts were darkened. I believe that everyone who forges ahead